Hi, and welcome to Archicad Basic Training. And in this lesson, we're going to cover the project preferences. So in the last lesson, we covered the work environment. So hopefully you've set that up so that you're comfortable with everything that you see on the screen. And you have your shortcuts printed out next to you. And you're going through that as you progress through your Archicad learning experience. But in this lesson, we're going to cover the project preferences. So if you go to Options and you go to Project Preferences, you have a list of different items here that adjust basically the size or the settings that kind of define your project. So we'll start from the top and work our way down. So working units. So working units is basically what it sounds like, which is the different units that your drawing is going to use either in the model itself, which would be kind of this area, and or on your layouts, and as well as the angles. So sometimes when I'm doing as-built drawings, or record drawings, and I'm using my laser measuring device, I keep that in decimal feet. So I'll work in decimal feet. And so if I change that, and sometimes I'll use radian as well instead of degrees, just because radians is a little bit easier because of the just how it works. So let's just look at this for a second. So as you can see here, it's showing me that it's 102 feet, or it could be inches, but let me look at it again. So go back to here. Yeah, so that's in feet, decimal feet. So if I go back and I change it, I can change it to something else like inches. So if I wanted to do like cabinets, so I could do like 25 inches, and I don't have to type inches or feet when I'm doing this. I just type 25, and it knows that I want it to be inches. Same with when I have it in feet. I can type 25, and it knows that I want it to be feet because that's kind of the governing size or units. But if I was typing 25 and I do a backslash, that is also feet, but that actually works differently in when it's feet and inches. Anyways, so now this is a little bit different. So we go to dimensions. And when you pull up the dimensions tab, it has the rest of the kind of the project preferences. The units is the one that's broken out. So there's different types of units that are predefined, and you'll find these here, but they're also in the quick options. So if you are working in different views, like if you're doing interior elevations or something of that nature that's more detailed and it's not going to be in feet as much as it's going to be in inches, you can select the millwork and details, and it'll give you fractional inches to a 1/16 of an inch. But if you're working on a site survey, it'll give you decimal feet to 3 decimals, which is a standard survey dimension. So, and then you can also go to meter, millimeter, and you can go to more detailed, like 64th of an inch as an accuracy thing. So I actually use a 64th of an inch when I'm working on my own projects through a certain phase, and then I'll adjust them back to like a 16th or even to like a half of an inch or a quarter of an inch. So I just start the project as accurately as possible, and then when I get to a certain point, I'll back it out so that it's not, I'm not asking the contractor to do something to, 3/64 of an inch or something of that nature. But throughout each of these, they all have different ways that they're going to do the angular dimension, the circumference or radial dimensions, the level dimensions, elevation dimensions, and then you have how the door and window and skylight dimensions show up, sill heights, and then you have area calculations. So, for instance, if you are back in the site survey, so it's going to give you square feet to 2 decimals, and it's rounding to a quarter of an inch, or a quarter of a square foot. So if you go to building scale, it's just going to have 0 decimals, and it's just going to be to the nearest, and it's going to hide any zeros. So that's the dimensions, and now we have calculations and unit rules. And so this is how your calculations are going to happen. That these will show up in like your so let's just show you here. So when you have like a schedule, the schedule will have decimals within it. Let's see if there's any schedules in this. So for instance, so like the height and width, or if you had area, those elements, so this height and width are defined by this calculations. So how it's going to be measured is going to be it's going to show up this way. Or if you have an area inside of this schedule, it's going to show up here when you're doing your calculations. Same with volume or angles and anything like that. And so you only will see that information basically in here, and you'll adjust it here. But you have to pay attention, because sometimes if you adjust this, I've known that one time I had to 4 decimals in the square foot in one of my calculations, and I had the accuracy off, I believe, or extra accuracy off, and I was getting this weird, basically a number that had a lot of extra information in it, and it wasn't, it took me a long time to locate it, but it was here that it was causing it. And it was because I created this set right out of, I created the schedule with this accuracy off, and then with this information set here. So I actually had to remake a schedule that was a duplicate with this information turned back down. So we'll just set that back.